Good afternoon. Howdies. I'm back. Let's see. We have to let the Discord folks know what the heck's going on, don't we? Let's see. Discord. Stream. Hello, Network Bib. I can't get over how quick you show up in my chat, man. This is wild. Yeah. Guess who's back? You. That's who's back again. I think I'm going to try to work on my MCP server. One sec. I love that meme. I'm fast as fuck, boy. Hey, Voldy, what's up? Hello, Syntax Queen. Hello, Butterscotch. Good to see you guys. How are y'all doing? Let's see. I was going to... Hey, Stefan. What's up, man? How you been? It's been a minute. Alright. Well, I'm gonna try to get myself unstuck. You're hungry? Nice. What's for dinner? Oh, why are you fasting? Is there a reason why you're fasting? I think you spelled it correctly. Yeah, I think you for sure spelled it correctly. Alright, so this is what I need to figure out. Let's say const resource is going to be equal to oh, that sucks, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry not feeling good, dude. But hopefully you feel better. Yeah, I don't think Stefan is Stefan, you're not Muslim, are you? Yeah, Ramadan's over, but I don't think Stefan observes Ramadan. I could be wrong. Sounds like it's more health related, but not in the good way. So I hope you get to feeling better, man. That does suck though. I'd be super hungry if I was fasting for 48 hours. Syntax Queen, Steven, can you please explain how to write good documentation for one's code? So I can show you a couple examples of things I've done. So I think in order to write good documentation, you always want to try to put on your consumer hat, right? Try to imagine like you're somebody who's consuming the code you've written. And the documentation, though, the style of documentation is largely going to depend on what you're building, right? So if you're building a public-facing API, right, meaning like an HTTP API or REST API, then you're probably going to want something. You're probably going to want two things. You're probably going to want a website that documents the API. So here's an example of like a website that documents the API with all the different methods you can take, and it should probably provide examples of responses and requests. And if you have different client SDKs, it should probably show different examples using those client SDKs. And then the other thing you're going to probably want is you're going to want some sort of playground for people to make exploratory requests, right? So you can use something like Swagger to do that. There's also another tool out there called, this may be more C# specific. Actually, I don't know if it is C# specific. There's another tool out there that's called, what is it called? I just used it on I forget the name of it. Scalar. It's called Scalar. Yeah. That's built around the OpenAPI spec. That will provide you a GUI like this that people can use. So if you're building something for a REST API, right, a public-facing API, you're probably going to want a website. And I think Stripe kind of sets Stripe's API docs kind of set what the like ideal API doc looks like. So if you ever need like what should documentation look like for an API, you can use Stripe's API docs to kind of get an idea. If you're building something like a library or a package, let me show you an example of that. So if you're building like a library or package like that someone's going to npm install, or something like that, you're going to npm install, or what would be the other one, .NET, use the .NET CLI and install it, then you're going to probably want something that's more, maybe you want like a really in-depth README like this, right? But then you're probably going to want some actual documentation in your code, right? And like in JavaScript or TypeScript, you're probably going to use something called JSDoc, where you're going to actually put some documentation around the objects and the functions and the methods and the parameters, so that when people are actually using your library in their code, they get documentation in their editor. And then a lot of times you can convert that documentation into a website. So like here's an example. I forget the name of the package I used to do this. Let me see if I can find it really quick. See, package.json. What did I use? TypeDoc. TypeDoc is the library. TypeDoc. So this will actually generate like a documentation site from your TypeScript source files, and also it will bring in JSDoc comments. But when you have something like this, then people can read all that information. Like here, if I go to like reference field, right, they can actually see, oh, there's a constructor method. What are the properties on this object, right? It's the same stuff that's in your source code, right? It's the same stuff that's in your source code, but it's a little bit more easily to digest, right? It's just another UI. So I guess it really, what defines good documentation, it's largely going to depend on the type of project you're building. Syntax. Hold on, let me grab a pen. Yeah. I mean that's kind of where, that's kind of, I would think of like, what project are you building? Who's the consumer of your project? And then try to write your documentation in the most helpful way for that person, right? And so you've got to kind of have empathy, right? So like, if I'm trying to call your API over an HTTP request, what's probably most helpful to me is examples of the requests and the responses. It's probably helpful to know how errors are handled, right? If I'm building a library that I'm going to install in my own project, then I probably want some good documentation in the source code itself, so that like, when you're in an editor, if you're in an editor and you hover over the push method and you want to be able to get documentation like this, right? right in your editor. So depends, but there's lots of tools out there that make it a lot easier, and LLMs make it a lot easier to write good documentation nowadays. Hello, Ducky Dev. Hello, Abu. How are you, man? I've been good. It's good to see you again. Syntax Queen, thank you very much. Of course, yeah. I know it's kind of a ball of wax, but I think what's probably most helpful is like once you get to a point in your project where you need to write documentation, just do a quick Google search and be like, how to create a good documentation site for XYZ type of project. And you'll probably find half dozen blog posts or tutorials out there that'll kind of walk you through what are some helpful tools and best practices, that sort of thing. Hello, Stefan. Oh, did you have to leave? Network bib left. I missed that. Sorry, guys. I was on a little bit of a ramble there for a second. All right, so I'm at this place with my MCP server where I basically just need to properly return the resource. And so what I found out when I was testing this last time is I can't just do this. I actually have to check and see if the file type is of text. And if it's of text, then I have to return it as a text resource. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna do a little match. This is very simplistic, so I don't know if this is actually the most exhaustive way to do it, but I'm gonna say file response data content type dot starts with starts with, and if it does, then we're going to return an object that looks like that, and then otherwise we're going to return an object that looks like this. Type resource otherwise we're going to do that. This is going to complain, isn't it? Okay. Well, if you're going to complain about it, then I'm going to do if file response data content type starts with text, then return otherwise return this. All right, let's see if that works. Let's put this npm run build. All right, now we'll start up Claude Desktop. Sorry, I missed some chats here. Voldy NPC server. Sorry, I swear I'm trying to say im. Syntax queen. I was thinking, should I do it one by one example, making a post routes, then immediately I make a documentation for it till I'm done? If I have to wait till I finish my project, it get kind of confusing. Is it normal to not be able to understand my own code once I'm done? So, so Syntax Queen, your first question about documentation is I typically wait to do documentation at the very end of a project. My camera's gotten quite darker. Hold on one sec. I need some way to be able to adjust my camera's ISO for my computer. I usually wait till the end to do my documentation. That's just my thing, because my API might develop a lot. I might change it. I might get halfway through writing it and decide, no, I don't like that and I want to do it differently. So I usually wait till the end. Your question about, is it normal to not be able to understand your code once I'm done? I say, well, let me think about this. Is it normal to not be able to understand my code once I'm done? Yes and no. At a high level, you should understand what you've written. But if you've been working on a project for several weeks and there's something that you implemented at the very beginning and it was a pretty complex thing you implemented, I think it's normal to look back at that code sometimes and be like, wait, why did I do this? I think that's pretty normal. But at a high level, you should sort of be able to explain what you were trying to accomplish. Butterscotch. I don't know what I write most of the times. Yeah, I mean, I just did that on Saturday. On Saturday, when I was streaming, I switched over to working on a different project, not this NPC server. It was a project I'd started writing like 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I couldn't remember where I'd left off, with the project. So it took me like 10 or 15 minutes to sort of orient myself to like, okay, what have I implemented? What haven't I written? Obviously, it would probably help if I had like a project plan with a task list and organized and all that stuff. But for side projects, I don't often do that. It's nice to hear other people have that same experience, though, of not knowing what they've written. Abu kind of shared Abu has a similar experience. That's good. So we're not on islands by ourselves here. Crypto news. Do you have an idea for a project related to MCP? I know MERN and Web3, and a little AI MCP server. It might be interesting if you're into crypto based on your username, and you like the MERN stack. It might be interesting to write a little application that could tell you like the current price, right, of different crypto coins. That might be kind of interesting, right? You could talk to Claude and say, hey, do you know what what's the price of Bitcoin today? Might be an interesting little project. Looks like Voldy has an idea for you too. All right, let's see if I fix my issue here. Now I need to remember what my prompt should be for testing this. Okay. let's see. Can you get me the file named test.txt from record ID 1 in the field named attachments in the app named file app testing. Let's see if it uses the right tool here. I don't know, it's thinking quite a bit here. Yep. Oh, nice. Okay, got it, right? There we go. So this was the, yeah, this was the right file. Okay, cool, that worked. Let's try adding another file. Let's try adding something that's like, no, something that's not text. Let's see. Let's do the thumbnail for the video I just uploaded. Alright, let's see. Okay, can you now get me the file named thumbnail.png from the same field and record? So this should be not a text file, so this should be an image file. See if it works. Look at that. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It perfectly, almost perfectly described the file, right? So I mean, let's see, File Explorer. I can show you what that file really looks like. So you know I'm not tricking you. Here's what the thumbnail looks like. So that's pretty good. Okay, cool. So I've got this tool working. Awesome. Let's see. That's definitely not an exhaustive list of file types, but it works. Fantastic. Wonderful. Abu, do you have any crypto portfolio, by the way? I do not. Or you mean do I invest in crypto, or do I have any like crypto related coding projects, Abu? Because I do have some. I was actually talking about that earlier on stream this morning. I do have some Solana. I have. Let me see. I have Solana, I have Ethereum, and I have some Shiba Inu, I think, is what I have at the moment. Yeah, Solana, Ethereum, and Shiba Inu. Not a lot of it. Today it's worth $1,400. It goes up and down a lot. I just put some money in it just to play, you know. Syntax Queen, are you using Claude Pro version or the free version? Yeah, what Voldy said, the free version. I don't pay for I do not pay for Claude. Except I pay to use Claude's API. I do pay for that, but I don't pay for the Claude AI stuff. The only actually, I should say, the only AI product I actually pay for is Copilot. And obviously I pay for API. I mean, I feel like if you're developing with the APIs, it's like a given that you're paying for some token usage, right? I mean, that's just, you can't use those APIs without signing up with a credit card. Syntax, which is better, ChatGPT or Claude? I use them interchangeably, Syntax Queen, honestly. I think lately I've been using Claude 3.7 a lot more, but I just open up my web browser. I just open up my web browser and I just whatever's top of mind. Sometimes it's Claude, sometimes it's ChatGPT. I've used DeepSeek a couple times. I use Gemini. Gemini's great. I feel like Gemini's really, really good. So I kind of use them all interchangeably. I know people say like, oh, Gemini's better at this or Claude's better at this. I don't pay enough attention to really know. They all seem to get me to where I need to go. Abu, I mean, if you are holding any crypto, I am holding some crypto. I figured out what you were asking there. So I own a little bit of Solana, a little bit of Ethereum, and a little bit of Shiba Inu, which today it's worth about $1,400 total. So yeah, it's a very small amount, but who knows? Maybe if one of them takes off, I can quit my job one day. I can retire early. Loaf767, hi chat, just set up my phone. Well, good for you, Loaf. I'm glad you got your phone. That's very exciting. It's always fun to get new hardware. Loaf, guys like the stream. I appreciate there's no pressure. No one has to like it, but I appreciate Loaf encouraging other people to like it. It's very kind of you. Sorry, I was having to respond to a message real quick. Syntax, I like the stream too. Steven's literally good at everything. No, Steven's only good at a handful of things. And even coding and programming, I would say I'm not terribly great at. I still have a lot to learn. But it's fun. I do enjoy it. Loaf, not having a 4.2-inch display is so good. Been missing out on 6. Wow, yeah, 2 additional inches on a display. That's a meaningful change, man. That's definitely. So what were you on? Were you on like an iPhone 8 or an iPhone 10 or something? Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you jump from an 8 or a 10 to anything like in the last 2 or 3 years, it's a big, it's worth the upgrade for sure. Abu, why are you mostly using Claude? Is it better than ChatGPT at some point? So, Abu, the reason I'm using, or the reason I've been using Claude 3.7 is because, why? I don't think I have a good reason. I think it's just for whatever reason, whenever I go to my search bar, I always type in Claude.ai. But just recently, that's been what's top of mind. The reason why I'm using Claude right now on the desktop is just because it's a very easy MCP client to configure. That's the only reason that I've been doing that. It's just an easy way to test the MCP server. Voldy, he's literally coding with Lewis. I think that is so funny that I've heard from more than one person that me and coding with Lewis have look-alike faces. It's really, really funny. Maybe one day he'll see one of my videos and be like, "Hey, who's this guy?" Loaf, I just realized how big the camera is on the 16E. Loaf, I was on an SE2 upgraded to a 16E. What are the E? SE versus E? Justin, do I need a degree to get a good job? Justin, I don't think so. I personally don't think so, because I mean, there's several guys I went to school with, like high school with, that have who have really great jobs. I mean, I can think of one off the top of my head who probably makes more money now at this point, and he didn't get a college degree. He just went straight into working at a plant, and in the beginning he was working a lot of hours, but he's just slowly worked his way up over the last the last 10 or 12 years that he's been out of school. So I don't think it's necessary. I think that having a degree sometimes makes it easier to get into different jobs. Like, it's easier to open the door, but I don't think it's mandatory. And Justin, I was also answering from the perspective of just like a good job in general. Like, if you're meaning a good job in tech, then yeah, for sure, no, you don't need it. I mean, there's tons of self-taught people who are working in tech that are perfect evidence of that. Who is Lewis? Oh, I can show you, because I didn't know who it was either until people started bringing him up to me. Coding with Lewis. His channel's good though. He's got lots of good content. Lots of good content. So, like, I can kind of see the resemblance, you know? When we both kind of have a full face, we kind of both have a wide forehead. The eyes, I think the eyes are pretty similar. Yeah, so I totally see the resemblance. I had never heard of him before, though, until people came into my chat and started saying, hey, is this coding with Lewis? Butterscotch S series is just a budget iPhone with flagship processor. Oh, okay. Thank you, Butterscotch. I was curious. I thought he was talking about an iPhone, but normally I always refer to iPhones just in terms of numbers, but I forgot they did have like the SE versions. All right, well, I've come to the point, I think, with my server here where I'm actually at the point where I just need to finish writing tests and then write some documentation, and I should be good to go. So, do I have a README? Yeah, I have a README, but there's really nothing in here at the moment. Yeah, I just need to figure out what tests I need to write, and then I need to write them. So let's do npm. Let's see, npm run test coverage, I think is what I have it under right now. Oh, one of them failed, but that's just because I don't have any tests yet for that. Does anybody know, like, does anybody know, this is something I've not figured out how to do well. How do I comment multiple lines in Vim? Right? So, like, if I select this block of code here, how do I comment that out? I mean, I guess I can Google it, but I thought maybe one of you guys would know. Vim comment, or NeoVim, I guess, comment out multiple lines. Is there not a good way to do this? Shift I hashtag? Shift I hashtag? No, that didn't do it. I mean, what I've been doing is I've just been literally doing this, but that's painful. And I feel like there should be a better way to do it. Butterscotch, you don't need Google. I'm here to help. Oh, okay, so GCC, is that what it is? Okay. Okay, so I've selected all that. GCC. Ooh, nice. Does that do the opposite too? Bro, that's killer. Thank you, Butterscotch, man. That's awesome. That's what I've been missing. So GC. Nice. Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Chat is uber helpful. I appreciate you guys. I missed some conversation in here. Let me see. Justin Pack. So without a degree, I will struggle for the first few years. I don't think you'll struggle, Justin Pack. I think it's just an acknowledgement that without the degree, you may have to grind, right? Just for a little bit, you know, to get the experience or to demonstrate your ability. Although nowadays you kind of have to do that even if you have a degree. Abu, so Lewis is your lost brother. I guess. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Justin, how can I have skills when I don't have a job in the first place and experience too? So yeah, Justin, that's where you've got to the skill. You're gonna have to build the skills outside the job, right? You're gonna have to do some learning in your free time, in your own time. And then, like I think Foldy is saying, build some side projects, and then you can hopefully build projects that help you speak to your skills, right? So if you're in a conversation for a job that's going to have you do like web app development, like the MERN stack, then talk about a project you built with the MERN stack and the technology you used, right? That's still experience, even if it is your own experience. It's still experience, and especially if you can talk about it in a knowledgeable way. Syntax. Steven, I'm curious, do you write front ends? I do write front end. I just haven't had very many projects lately, side projects that have involved front end development, but I do front end development. Just not much of it lately. Most of what I've been working on has not been. Justin Pack. The bottom line that I'm just scared that I'm not going to find a well-paid job right at the beginning and then I'll starve to death. That's a valid concern, Justin. I think everybody has that concern the first time they move out on their own or have to support themselves. So very valid. I think what I would tell you is be humble enough to take the job that might not be exactly what it is you want to do. Right? So when I moved into tech, I'm still not 100% in the job I want to do full time. But I'm working closer and closer, right? I'd rather have a job where basically all day, every day I get to write code. I haven't quite reached that place yet. My first job in tech was as a support analyst. And then I moved into a job that was all manual testing as a quality analyst. And only in the last 2 or 3 years have I been able to move into more of an engineer position where I actually do get paid to write code. So I think Justin, have some humility to know that maybe the first couple jobs you get is more about getting your foot in the door, or maybe even the first couple jobs is just about making sure you don't starve to death. And then be strategic and try to work yourself into the positions you ideally want to be in. right? Um, don't refuse to accept a job that could put food on your table and keep you from starving just because it isn't the exact job you want to do, if that helps. Hello, Arkin. How are you, man? You doing well? Syntax Queen, that is the fear I'm going through currently. I mean, it's a valid fear. I mean, being able to take care of yourself and pay your bills is a valid anxiety. I think every adult in the world has, no matter what job you're doing. I just feel like, don't think you need to hit a home run your first at bat, right? Like, get a job that pays you, whatever that is, and then try to work yourself into your ideal job. But don't not accept jobs or money just because. Don't not accept jobs that will pay you money for work just because it's not your ideal job. Abu, could you give us an idea about the current salary range according to the role and experience? I can't, Abu. Because I don't have enough experience with enough different companies and enough different roles to give you a good estimation. From what I see online, it feels like it's all over the place. Like, it seems like there's front-end dev positions that will pay a couple $100,000 a year, and then there's full stack positions that will pay 80 grand a year. So it seems like it's all over the place. Arkin, what is your opinion on freelancing sites? I feel like they can be useful. I feel like my issue with them is more of a skill issue. I just don't know how to use them. Like, I have a Fiverr profile, and I have what's the other one? An Upwork profile. And I feel like my issue, the reason why I haven't gotten any of the jobs I've applied for, is just because I haven't put in the time and energy to really build out a high converting profile and really understand how those platforms work. So I think it's like anything, right? It's like, if you want to have a blog that ranks high in SEO on Google, then you've got to put in the effort to understand that game. And I feel like the freelance sites are the same idea, right? If you want to be a top seller on Fiverr or a top worker on Upwork, you've got to put in the time to understand the game and the rules of the game and then win the game. I would hate to just say, no, the problem is Upwork or the problem is Fiverr. I think the problem is more that Steven doesn't know how to use those sites well. Voldy, I mean, I have a chem degree and I got hired. Well, yeah, I mean, I have a biochemistry degree and had 6 years of experience in food science, and somehow was able to pivot into a tech career. So it's possible for sure, no matter what your background is. Richard, yo, what's up? Playing Tetris, bro? I'm not playing Tetris. Are you playing Tetris? Richard, I don't know what MCP stands for actually. Yeah, model context protocol. It's just it's kind of a fancy new thing that's out in the AI world. Yeah, lets AI do stuff, exactly. Yeah, in an extensible and reusable way. But now I'm at the point where what I need to do is I need to figure out what tests I need to write before I ship this thing. And I also have to write a README, a halfway decent README. That actually might be an interesting thing to try to use Copilot Agent Mode for. Like, see if Copilot Agent Mode can write a good README for this project. All right. npm run test coverage. Now this should spit out a. Then we can do npx live server coverage. Here we go. As you can see, my test coverage sucks at the moment. Abu, who motivated you to switch your job? My family, Abu. Um, Largely my family. I had my first kid when in 2016. I had just started the food science job. Yeah, like 6 months prior, I had started the the food scientist job. I'd been out of school for about a year, um, and then in 2018, I had my second kid, and then by the time we hit 2020, almost right at the kickoff of the pandemic, it was just getting to the point where I was working a lot. I was working a lot of hours, a lot of strange hours. Like I'd be at the plant at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning to run test runs multiple weekends in a row or multiple weeknights in a row. And we had just started up a new manufacturing plant. That was a big lift and took a lot of hours from everybody on the team. And I had two little kids at home, and so I was at this place where it's like, man, I want to find something that's a little bit more conducive to like standard work hours. And so that was the main motivation. And I knew I kind of liked computers. I liked technology for sure, right? But I knew I also kind of liked programming and coding because I had taken programming 1 and programming 2 my senior year in college. And so I was like, so that's what ultimately kind of made me start to think maybe I want to do something with computers, something with engineering, something along those lines. That was kind of the motivation. Arkin, listen to this. In my local country, tech industry is so small. The few freelancing sites look so shady. It looks like they have internal dev teams that does the freelancing contracts. Oh, that's kind of interesting. When you said freelancing sites, I thought you were talking about like the big players like Fiverr and Upwork and whatnot. Richard, but basically, if you're doing web dev, Laravel is not enough nowadays. I don't think so, Richard. I think Laravel is a very big community with lots of people who are actively making really good money using Laravel. So, yeah, I think that's plenty. You're probably gonna want to know some sort of front end framework. Probably, I think there's actually there's a tool in the Laravel community called, I think, Livewire, which lets you basically have all your nice Laravel backend, but then you can write a front end that's in Vue or React or whatnot, and they will play nice together. But you don't necessarily have to know a front end framework, right? You could write all server rendered apps if you wanted to. Richard, congrats on kids, by the way. Yeah, having a family is great. They make sure independent devs don't get visibility. They behave like we are customers. That's interesting, Arkin. I'm sorry that this such shady business practices, man. That's very odd. Richard, mine is 10 months old. Oh, congrats, Richard. That's awesome, dude. Yeah, having the first one is a real whirlwind. Which, Richard, I don't know if you know. I'm gonna share this link with you since it sounds like you're a fellow dad and maybe you're in the tech world. This is a group that just got started, I think, at the end of last year. It's called Dads in Tech. They do meetups, virtual meetups. There's also a Discord channel, and there's lots of different small groups that are trying to get started in like geographic specific locations. So I would recommend checking out that meetup or that group, Dads in Tech, if you're a new dad. Richard, I said a few days ago I'm using. Oh, sorry, Richard. I forgot about that. Butterscotch, Laravel community is the nicest tech community I have seen. Yeah, it seems like they're a good bunch of people. I mean, but there's some good people in JavaScript, in the JavaScript world too, right? Like I always think of whenever I think of like a nice tech person, I always think of Kent C. Dodds. He always seems like the most wholesome developer out there. Richard, thank you for a link. Nice one. Yeah, it's a good group, man. I think if you're new to dad life and you enjoy tech, that's definitely a group you should check out. All right, let's see. Let's see if I can knock off one or two tests here. Okay, format, rule field, formula. I need a number and a date field. Gosh, I'm so excited about the multi-line commenting and uncommenting thing I learned today. That was well worth the hour of streaming. GC, beautiful. Okay, test. It should format a formula field with numeric output correctly. It should. Syntax Python community is great too. I haven't interacted as much with them, but I will definitely take your word for it. Abu, you married so early, and do you still live with your whole family like mom and dad? No, Abu, I got married. So I got married when I was 23. Yeah, 23. I met my wife when I was 15, but we didn't get married till I was 22, 23. It was like right as I was graduating college. We do not live with our family. That in the United States, it's very uncommon it's much more common for people not to live with their parents. Like there's not many multi-generational households in the United States. It does happen. There are families that do it, but it's very uncommon. Arkin, to be honest, cannot get myself to love Laravel. Way abstract, magical for my taste. Yeah, I think the problem with Laravel, I've not written a lot. I've just watched tutorials or live streams of people working with it. Like there's a guy named Aaron Francis that I like to watch, who's a PHP developer. And the one thing I think that works against Laravel is, like you said, there's a lot. Like if you bootstrap up a new Laravel project, there is just a lot to it, and there's a lot of commands you have to run, and yeah, I think it's a little overwhelming. But it does look like Laravel is much more of a complete full stack solution from a backend perspective, right? Because they give you I'm pretty sure they give you queues out of the box. They give you a way they give you a database out of the box. They give you a lot of helpful ways to scaffold CRUD operations. So yeah, they're kind of to me, Laravel is much more a full stack framework in the full stack sense of the word than something like Next.js, in my opinion. Ikjika. Hello, Ikjika. How are you doing? Syntax Queen. Steven, can you explain what you are coding on? I don't understand it. Syntax Queen, you mean like the project itself? Is that what you're wanting to know? Because I can explain that. Chicken, how hard is it to make Pong game with menus and settings in C++? I couldn't answer that because I don't write C++. So if I gave you an answer, it would be completely bullshit. I'm guessing it would not be trivial in C++ since C++ is a little lower level of a language. But I say go for it, man. I'm rooting for you. Ajika, I had a question. Did you learn HTML, CSS first, then JavaScript, or not? And what are the best tools to learn JavaScript? So, Ajika, funny enough, I actually learned JavaScript first. And the reason is because the piece of software that my company makes has a formula engine in it. So think of like the formula engine in like Excel, for example. But instead of things like, you know how Excel's formula function is like equals, and then you type in like text join or whatever random functions Excel provides you. The piece of software my company makes, their formula engine is based on JavaScript. So if you learn how to write formulas for the piece of software we make, you're basically learning how to write JavaScript. So I knew a bit of JavaScript, and then I went and started following the free Codecamp curriculum, and that's what helped me learn HTML and CSS. Syntax Queen, yes. What are you working on? So Syntax Queen, I'm gonna give you like the 5-second rundown. There is a thing called Model Context Protocol. This was released in November of last year. Yeah, November of last year. And it basically sets forth a standard that basically says people can build MCP clients and people can build MCP servers, MPC servers, and as long as these two things are compliant to the MCP protocol, then they can talk to each other. Whoops. So like this, so they can talk to each other. Oh my gosh. There we go. And so an MCP client would be something like Claude Desktop, Cursor, VS Code, I think now is MCP compliant. And then people can build MCP servers, which essentially implement different pieces of functionality, right? So you can use to talk to GitHub or the file system or whatever else, right? And so then what you do is when you connect an MCP server to an MCP client, that means that now Claude, for example, Claude Desktop, can get data from GitHub. It can get data from your local file system, right? And so what I'm working on is I'm working on an MCP server that talks to a different third-party API. So basically the idea would be then you can hook my MCP server up to something like Claude Desktop, and then Claude will be able to reach out and get data from this other system. If you want to know like more nitty-gritty details, you can go to modelcontextprotocol.io and just start combing through their documentation. Here's a much better diagram of the architecture, but they've got all kinds of documentation on their website you can read through. But that's what I'm working on. And right now, specifically what I'm doing is now I'm at the point where I've written all the functionality I want to write, and now I just need to write some tests and do documentation before I make it publicly available. See, SOCOM. Hi, Soham. What new does MCP bring? So I think Soham, what MCP brings is it just brings a common layer of abstraction. So instead of everybody having to implement their own agentic framework, right, using one of the model provider APIs, so if you're using OpenAI, you'd use their function calling support, or if you're using Anthropic's API, you'd be using their tool use support, right? And so instead of implementing your own agentic framework around one of the provider's APIs, which sort of couples you to their API, what you can do is you can write an MCP server, and then anybody who has an MCP client can use your server, Or you could build an MCP client and you can use anybody else's MCP server that they've already written. So it just makes for a much more reusable and extensible agentic environment, in my opinion. Hold on one sec. I gotta adjust my camera again. The sun's out. Syntax Queen, look how good you explained it. Yeah, I don't know if I explained it well or good, but it's my understanding, you know. I think it makes sense. Like, I think having some sort of layer like MCP just makes a lot of sense. Versus everybody's out there trying to do their own agentic, right? Because basically everyone who's doing agentic stuff with AI, they're basically implementing some sort of durable workflow engine, which is fine. It's fine, but like, you know, let's say you're building a SaaS company, and you want your SaaS company's agentic system to be able to integrate with GitHub. Then you're going to write some sort of tools that allow your AI system to talk to GitHub's API. But why reinvent the wheel? Why not just use GitHub's MPC server, right? So I think that's the benefit. Boldy, are you Dracula or a vampire because you have to hide from the sun? I don't have to hide from the sun, but like, I meant the way my house is positioned and the way the sun comes over us, this time of the day, the lighting in here constantly changes. Like, even now, it's too bright again. Maybe I'll shut this window. It's a constant battle with the sun. All right, let's write these 2 tests, huh? Oh, I'm already over an hour. Dang it. Okay, let me see if I can write 1 test real quick. I'm only at 44 lines changed today. We don't need a rule. Oh no, we do need a rule. We do need a rule. We don't need fields. Or do we need fields? We just need a field. So this is going to be field. New formula field. We need app name. So app name. No, ID, app ID, name, field type, field status. And output type. All right, let's run this again. npm run tests coverage. They all pass. Yeah, that's basically Abu. You think of like like an MCP server. You can basically think as like a wrapper around some existing API or piece of software that does one of two things. It either gets data from that place or it takes some action, right? So like it could write a file to the file system or it could read a file in from the file system. I think MCP clients are much more complex. I haven't actually looked at writing an MCP client. Maybe we look at that next. I think the MCP client's a little bit more complex. But yeah, from the server perspective, that's the mental model I use. Is like the MCP server is just going to wrap some existing functionality. I mean, I guess it doesn't even need to talk to. I mean, yeah, it's gonna wrap some existing functionality at its core. And if you want to see examples of that, there's actually, if you just Google MCP servers, there's a repo here that has a bunch of different ones that have been written. And you name the thing, and there's probably one now for it. Like, you know, Azure has an MCP server. GitHub has one. Git has one. Google Drive has one. Google Maps, right? So, yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, look at the. Yeah, I'd like to look at an MCP client. Let's see, CD software, and then MPX live server coverage. There we go. And now we've got another test. Okay, I'm gonna write one more test, then I've gotta skedaddle. I have to skedaddle. Let's see. We'll say const rule. Yeah, so that. There we go. All right. So we're at, with that, we brought ourselves to 91% coverage on one of our files. So that's good. So yeah, I think for me, the last stuff that's left on this MCP project is writing tests and documentation, which I'll probably do that. It's not really exciting stuff, so I might do that off stream. I don't know. If you guys are interested in it, I'm happy to keep working on stream. But maybe we just look at the final product once I finish all that stuff. But yeah, it may be time to move on to something else to work on stream. Syntax queen. Okay. Yeah, cool. I'll probably mix it in then. I'll do a little bit of the test writing and a little bit of the documentation writing on stream, but probably start thinking about something else to work on. Butterscotch. Have you heard or Zoxide? No, I haven't. It is better than CD. You can directly jump to the directories you often visit. Interesting. Zoxide? Well, here's a demo here. See, Z will remember it next time. Z foo. Oh, that's cool. Okay. I'll definitely give this a try. Butterscotch is leveling me up every day. Every day I stream and he's in my chat. He's leveling me up. Okay. So then sock side. Okay, so it's there. What about Z? Is Z A list? No, it's not A list. Okay. So what you're saying is if I do something like Zoxide, hold on, disable this. If I do something like Zoxide software Onyx MCP server. Oh, I guess do I have to do this? How do I use it? Oh. Need to add that to my profile. Okay, cool. And then what you're saying is then here I should be able to like Z home and then I can say Z Onyx MPC server. No, not X, Z. Oh, that's nice. Yo, that's nice. That's really nice, Butterscotch. Thank you very much, man, for that recommendation. I'm going to use that for sure. I might alias CD to that because my habit is typing CD. So I might alias Z to CD. Abu, is the MCP server public? It is, yeah. It's on GitHub. Yeah, I can link it to you really quick. Your repositories. Let's see, Onyx. Oh, there it is. It's right here. This is the MCP server code. Syntax. Yeah, let's do doc. Yeah, I can definitely show the documentation part. I think I might try to get Copilot to do the documentation part. Copilot agent mode. Maybe see if it can write me a README as like a starting point. Butterscotch, yeah, my CD is Z2. Okay, cool. All right, so we're on the same page. Dude, that's totally was worth streaming and talking with you guys today. That was awesome. I feel like I've put a couple new things in my tool belt to make me better. Appreciate it. Voldy says, make an HTTP server. Voldy, why? Why would... I mean, I guess I could do that for a learning experience, but I don't know. Maybe. I'm not committing to anything. All right, guys. That's it for my lunchtime. I gotta hop and head back to work. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. Obviously, if you want to talk more, we have a Discord. You're welcome to join the Discord. And I would most definitely be back live again. So if I don't see you in the Discord, then I'll see you in another live stream or another video or another short. All right, guys. Y'all have a good Monday. And if it's already Tuesday for you, have a good rest of your Tuesday. Butterscotch, thank you for making me smarter. Abu, yes, check out the repo. If nothing else, the repo might help you just kind of think about how you might write an MCP server. And all right. Oh, Butterscotch, yes, use Nightbot, dude. Butterscotch is much smarter than I am. All All right, guys. I'll talk to you later. See you, Boo. See you, Voldy. See you, Syntax Queen. Anybody else who's here. Hope you guys have a good day. Bye, y'all. Bye.